If you still believe that the big-eared mouse represents love and dreams, let me be the first to inform you that you have basically said goodbye to the word intelligence. Do not be fooled by that pink public relations filter. In the eyes of AutoArchives, Disneyland was never the happiest place on earth. It is a carefully designed spiritual slaughterhouse that uses dopamine traps to harvest your wallet and your soul. Today we are tearing open Walt Disney's good father persona. We are going to see how he turned a pile of rough sketches into the spiritual opium of all humanity. We are going to revisit the disaster known as Black Sunday, the opening day when asphalt melted, counterfeit tickets flooded the gates, and human waste flowed through the streets while the world was told a fairy tale. If you cannot handle the sound of your precious myth shattering, leave now. This channel is only for adults with the guts to see the bloody truth. Let me ask you a question that no Disney biographer has ever dared to ask. Did Walt Disney really build Disneyland because he loved his daughters? Was it truly an act of paternal devotion? Or was it something far darker, far more selfish, far more revealing about the man behind the mouse? The official story is beautiful. Walt took his daughters to a dirty, run-down amusement park in Los Angeles. He sat on a bench while they rode the carousel. He watched the cracked pavement, the peeling paint, the exhausted parents, the rude ride operators. And he thought, there needs to be a clean place where families can have fun together. That is the story. That is the myth. That is what the documentaries show you. Here is what actually happened. Walt Disney was a man who had lost control. In the 1940s and early 1950s, his animation studio was a battlefield. The animators, the very artists who had created Snow White and Pinocchio and Fantasia, went on strike. They walked out. They picketed outside his gates. They called him a tyrant. They accused him of treating them like machines. And the worst part, the part that ate at his soul, was that they were right. Walt was a perfectionist. He demanded total obedience. He could not tolerate anyone who questioned his vision. And when the workers finally rebelled, when the unions came, when the courts ruled against him, Walt did something that reveals his true character. He did not reflect. He did not apologize. He did not change. He ran away. He ran away to a plot of land in Anaheim, 160 acres of orange groves that nobody wanted. And he decided to build his own world. A world where he was not just the boss. He was the god. A world where no one could strike against him because there were no workers, only cast members. A world where no one could question his vision because his vision was the only vision. A world where he controlled everything. The temperature, the music, the smells, the prices, the lines, the smiles on the faces of the employees, the expressions on the faces of the guests. Everything. The carousel story is not about love. It is about disgust. Walt did not sit on that bench dreaming of making his daughters happy. He sat on that bench cataloging every flaw in the existing amusement industry. The dirt, the noise, the chaos, the lack of control. He was a man with a severe who could not stand the unpredictability of real human interaction. And he decided to build a machine that would eliminate unpredictability entirely. He did not buy land in Anaheim. He bought a territory in your brain, a piece of real estate labeled childhood, and he has been collecting rent on it ever since. If you have ever eaten instant noodles for a month just to afford that ridiculously priced ticket, type tithe in the comments. Let me see how many of you are still paying soul tax to a rodent. Now let me tell you how Walt Disney paid for his little kingdom. Because the beautiful story you have been told is that dreams come true if you just believe hard enough. That is a lie. Dreams come true if you have money. And Walt Disney did not have money. By 1953, he had already mortgaged his life insurance. He had borrowed against everything he owned. He had begged banks and studios and rich friends, and they had all said no. Wall Street laughed at the idea of a theme park. They said it was a toy for children, not an investment. They said Walt was a cartoonist, not a businessman. They said no, again and again. So Walt went to the one place that would say yes. Television, specifically ABC. The American Broadcasting Company was the smallest of the three major networks. It was losing money. It was losing viewers. It was desperate. And desperation, as every predator knows, is the sweetest perfume. Walt made ABC an offer they could not refuse. He would give them a weekly television show, a family show, a western, a show about the adventures of a man named Davy Crockett. It would be produced by Disney. It would air on ABC, and in exchange, ABC would invest $500,000 into Disneyland. Not a loan, an investment, equity, ownership. Walt was not selling tickets. He was selling pieces of his soul. The show was a monster hit. Davy Crockett coonskin caps sold by the millions. Every child in America wanted to be a frontiersman. ABC made a fortune, and Disneyland got built. But the price of that deal, the hidden cost that no one talks about, is the permanent marriage between media and theme parks, between content and real estate, between the stories you watch on your screen and the experiences you pay for in person. Walt Disney did not invent integrated marketing, but he perfected it. He created the first closed loop of entertainment. Watch the cartoon, buy the toy, visit the park. Watch the sequel, buy the bigger toy, visit the park again. The cycle never ends. This media plus real estate plus addictive consumption beyond is the great-grandfather of the modern surveillance economy. It is the original immersive brainwashing matrix. Every time you see an ad for a movie, then a toy, then a vacation, then a streaming service, you are walking through a door that Walt Disney opened. He was not building a park. He was building the first generation of immersive emotional extraction technology. And it worked so well that every corporation on the planet has been copying it ever since. Every childhood dream has an exact price in Walt Disney's ledger books. That is the reality of capital. Without money, Mickey Mouse starves in a garbage heap. If you have not subscribed to AutoArchives yet, you will never see past the you will never see the cold, calculating eyes behind the friendly smile. Now I want to take you through the most brilliant piece of psychological manipulation ever built into a physical space. It is called forced perspective, and it is the architectural equivalent of gaslighting your senses. Look at Main Street, USA, the entrance to every Disney park. At first glance, it looks like a cozy, small-town street from the early 20th century. But look closer. The ground floor is full size, full height, full proportion. The second floor is slightly smaller, about 7/8 of real scale. The third floor is smaller still, about 5/8. And the fourth floor, the top floor, is barely half scale. Your eye does not consciously register the difference, but your brain does. Your brain sees a street that feels taller, grander, more welcoming than it actually is. Your brain feels small, not in a scary way, in a magical way. And when you feel small, you feel wonder. And when you feel wonder, you spend money. That is not architecture. That is biological warfare. Walt Disney did not invent forced perspective. Architects have used it for centuries. But he was the first to weaponize it for commercial purposes. He understood that if he could make you feel small at the entrance, you would be more likely to accept the high prices, the long lines, the crowds, the heat. You would be more likely to obey the rules, follow the maps, stay on the paths. You would be more likely to buy the merchandise because the merchandise is also scaled down. It is made for children, but you are an adult, and yet you buy it anyway. Because somewhere in your subconscious, you are still that small person walking down that big street. The entire park is a precision psychological maze. Every turn, every curve, every dead end is designed to achieve one goal: maximize your spending while minimizing your awareness that you are being manipulated. The exit from every ride leads through a gift shop, not by accident, by design. The food courts are at the back of the park, not by accident, by design. The castle is at the end of Main Street, not by accident, by design. Every choice you make inside Disneyland was made for you before you ever bought your ticket. You think you are free. You think you are having fun. You think you are creating memories. You are walking through a spreadsheet. A very, very expensive spreadsheet. This manipulation of spatial perception is the exact same logic used by modern platforms. The endless scroll, the autoplay video, the notification badge. These are not features. They are forced perspective for your attention span. They make time feel shorter than it is. They make distance feel longer than it is. They make you feel small and the algorithm feel big. You think you are walking down Main Street, USA. You are walking through Walt Disney's. They are not just manipulating your wallet. They are manipulating your sense of reality. And you think it is. Now let me take you to July 17th, 1955, the day Disneyland opened, the day the world was told a fairy tale, and the day that thousands of people lived through a nightmare. It was a heat wave, 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The asphalt on Main Street, USA was fresh. It was soft. It was melting. Women in high heels walked onto that street, and their shoes sank into the black, sticky tar. They lost their shoes. They lost their heels. They lost their dignity. They limped through the park in bare feet, stepping on hot tar and sharp gravel, while Disney employees tried to pretend nothing was wrong. The plumbing was not finished. The toilets did not work. The water fountains were dry. There was no drinking water anywhere in the park, and it was 40 degrees. People were dehydrated. People were fainting. People were urinating in the bushes because there was nowhere else to go. The park that was supposed to be the cleanest, most magical place on earth smelled like a portable toilet on a construction site. And the crowds were insane. Disney had sent out invitations. 600,000 invitations. To celebrities. To journalists. To politicians. To their families. But the invitations were not specific. They did not say you had to have a ticket to get in. So people made copies. People forged passes. People showed up with pieces of paper that looked sort of like the real thing. And the security guards, the few that there were, could not check everyone. So they let people in. Thousands of people. Tens of thousands of people. More people than the park could hold. More people than the rides could handle. More people than the bathrooms could serve. There were no bathrooms. Remember? The opening day was a disaster. A complete, total, unmitigated catastrophe. The press called it Black Sunday, and it deserved that name. But here is the part that will make you sick. The television cameras kept rolling. ABC was broadcasting live. Ronald Reagan, yes, that Ronald Reagan, was one of the hosts. He stood in front of the cameras in his suit and his tie and his Hollywood smile. And he told America that Disneyland was open, and it was wonderful, and it was the happiest place on earth. He did not mention the melting asphalt. He did not mention the broken toilets. He did not mention the dehydrated children. He did not mention the counterfeit tickets. He smiled. He lied. And America believed him. This disaster proved something that every modern marketer knows. If the public relations is good enough, hell can be sold as heaven. Black Sunday is the original sin of fake it till you make it. It is the great-grandfather of every overhyped product launch, every CGI movie trailer, every Instagram post that shows a perfect beach while the photographer stands in a pile of garbage. Disneyland was a lie on opening day, and it is still a lie, just a much more expensive one. If you have ever visited a tourist trap that looked nothing like the brochure, share your history in the comments. Let us expose these premium harvesters together. Chapter 5. The Modern Illusion. From Mickey Mouse to AI-generated necromancy. Now let me bring us to the present. Walt Disney is dead. He died in 1966. He has been dead for almost 60 years. And yet Disney is bigger than ever. The parks are more profitable than ever. The movies make more money than ever. The merchandise sells in higher volumes than ever. How is this possible? How can a company thrive for decades after its founder died? The answer is simple. They turned him into a machine. They turned the entire company into a machine that no longer needs a human soul to run. Today, Disney is not a creativity company. It is a copyright enforcement company. Its most valuable asset is not its animators, not its directors, not its Imagineers. It is its legal department. The lawyers who extend the copyright on Mickey Mouse every time it is about to expire. The lawyers who sue daycares for painting cartoon characters on their walls. The lawyers who destroy independent artists for selling mouse ear stickers on Etsy. Disney does not create new stories anymore. It recycles old ones. It remakes its own classics in live action. It buys other people's successful franchises. Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, Fox. It consumes everything in its path, and then it regurgitates it as content for its streaming service. And now, with artificial intelligence, Disney is about to achieve its final form. A corporation that does not need human creators at all. AI can write scripts. AI can generate storyboards. AI can animate scenes. AI can even mimic the voices of dead actors. Disney no longer needs Walt. It needs a cultural zombie that can be resurrected over and over again to sell tickets and merchandise and streaming subscriptions. In this zombie empire, your innocence is not a virtue. It is a data point. Your nostalgia is not a feeling. It is a transaction. Your childhood is not a memory. It is a line of code in a database somewhere in Burbank, California. They no longer need Walt Disney. They just need a zombie that can wear his skin and smile his smile. And under the rule of this zombie empire, your purity is nothing but a line of pending code in their database. Walt Disney won. He won completely. He won so completely that most of you cannot even hear the truth I am saying without feeling angry. That anger is not love. That anger is the sound of your conditioning defending itself. He succeeded because he understood something about human beings that most of us spend our whole lives denying. We are afraid of real pain. Real pain is messy. Real pain is unpredictable. Real pain does not have a gift shop at the exit. So we pay for fake sweetness. We pay for fake happiness. We pay for fake nostalgia. We pay to stand in a fake castle in front of a fake princess while a fake mouse waves at us from a fake parade. And we call that a vacation. Disneyland expands every year. Tickets get more expensive every year. Lines get longer every year. And your heart, the one that has been forced into perspective by decades of carefully designed psychological manipulation, may never return to its real proportions. You have been trained to expect life to be like a Disney movie. Neat, clean, predictable, with a happy ending that arrives exactly on schedule. And when real life disappoints you, when it hurts you, when it refuses to follow the script, you run back to the park. You run back to the mouse. You run back to the machine that promised you that you could be a child forever. That is not happiness. That is a prison. And the walls are made of your own fear. The most educational thing you can take away from this video is not a list of facts about Walt Disney. It is a question you should ask yourself every time you feel the pull of that fake castle. Am I chasing joy, or am I running from discomfort? Am I creating memories, or am I buying them? Am I living my life, or am I watching a sanitized, branded, algorithmically optimized version of someone else's idea of what life should be? Walt Disney built an empire on a single insight. Human beings will pay to be lied to, especially if the lie is beautiful, especially if the lie is comfortable, especially if the lie comes with air conditioning and a themed restaurant. But lies do not nourish you. They do not grow you. They do not make you stronger. They make you weaker. They make you softer. They make you more dependent on the very machine that is harvesting you. Do not let the forced perspective twist your soul back to a shape that never fit you. Do not let the algorithm sell you nostalgia for a childhood you never had. Do not let the mouse collect rent on a piece of your brain that belongs to you and you alone. Here is AutoArchives. We tear off masks. We show you the bleeding truth. If after watching this, you decide to take your child to a real forest instead of a plastic mouse house, then these 5,000 words of pure malice are the warmest gift I have ever given to the world. Subscribe if you want to stay awake. The mouse does not want you to, but you already knew that.